Greetings, everyone. My name is Edward Fry, and I'm here to discuss recent attrition at DDSAnalytics. The agenda for today is a brief description of the kind of data we analyzed, along with the procedure that we used in that analysis. Then we'll go through some of the results of that analysis, identifying the top 3 factors of attrition and some other interesting factors that we ran across. Finally, we'll look at ways to predict attrition and to predict salary. And of course, we'll answer any questions as they come up. Here we go. The data we received included a representative set of data points that consisted of employees who have both left and stayed with DDSAnalytics. Each employee had 36 dimensions of information that we analyzed in various categories you can think of as personal, things like their marital status and their distance from the job, career, the number of years that they have worked in their chosen field, along with how long they've been at a given company and some things of that nature. And then finally, there was some educational information about their field of study, the kind of training they took, and so forth. After we looked through the data, we started analyzing it and explored some relationships between that data. We selected different variables that we thought might have some correlations, and we plotted those out to see if there in fact were correlations. Some examples are that we looked at the distance from home versus the age, a moderate correlation, but nothing too extreme. Also years versus income, and you can see from the plot here that while income does tend to go up as the number of years increases, the scatter is very wide about the line, which indicates that it's not as correlated as you might think. It's not a strong correlation. Job satisfaction seemed to play no role whatsoever, but we did learn that the field of study did yield higher incomes for life science and for medical folks. So that was very interesting. We then grouped our variables into 5 segments. And continuous variables are just things like age or working years, where there's a whole lot of values. So we needed to simplify that for our analysis. You can see here we grouped it into segments like less than 10, 11 to 15, and so forth. Once that was done, we calculated the percentage of attrition for each segment, and we were looking for the segment in each category that had the, in fact, greatest percentage of attrition. We then explored various models to predict attrition and salaries. More about that here in a moment. So what did we discover? Well, when we completed all of our calculations and looking at the segments, we arrived at the graph that you see here in front of you, which lists in order the highest impacts on attrition. Now, of course, we have the top 3 here, but if you look at the several, in combination, the few that are in the top, 8 to 10 roles, you can also get a picture about the kind of person that is going to leave. Now, the top 3 attrition factors were a performance rating of 3. Nearly 90% of folks who got this left. Also, if we went more than 4 years since a promotion, again, almost 90% of people left for that. And this last one may seem surprising on the surface. Folks who left that were at the company for less than 8 years at almost an 80% rate. But there's a reason for that. If you look at some of the other categories, you can really identify that single males who had a low income and no stock options also had a high rate of attrition. And that sort of makes sense because these are going to be younger folks and they're probably not going to be at the company for quite as long. So that less than 8-year measurement does make sense when you think about it that way. Now we turn to predicting attrition. And you can see here we predicted pretty well. The prediction was based on all variables, and we used the segments where we needed to so that we could include all variables. The algorithm was a naive Bayes, if you were curious, and we ended up with an accuracy of 72%, a sensitivity of 73, and a specificity of 67. That's actually very good. We were shooting for 60% on those, so kudos to us. And this lets us predict when folks might leave the organization. Finally, let's talk about salary predictions. We analyzed 78 different models. There was a lot of computation involved here using 2 algorithms, the k-nearest neighbor and multiple linear regression, if you were curious. MLR had the lowest error at $27.98 off, which is pretty darn close The most influential factors accounted for 61% of that influence on prediction, and those were monthly income, age, monthly rate, the number of companies they worked at, the total working years, and the number of years with their current manager. That concludes our analysis. At this point, I'm ready to take questions. Thank you.